We're going to bring out one of the biggest DJs and producers in the world, Kaskade, along with the CEO of growing startup Splice. They'll explore the ever-changing roles of labels and the digital tools every artist should be using to create compelling art. In a discussion with journalist Jared Lindzon, please welcome Steve Martocci and Kaskade.
That's how they want us?
All right. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, well, let's just jump right in here. Before we get into the real meat of it, though, Ryan, I want to give the audience an opportunity to maybe get over some of the stereotypes that they might have about the artists in your genre of music. You know, when people think of a world-famous DJ, they might have a few preconceived notions, and I want to give you an opportunity to sort of clear any of those up before we get started.
I'm sorry, did the mounds of cocaine throw you off? No, he's saying that because I don't do that. I don't know exactly what stereotypes you're speaking of. I'm married. I'm a father of 3. I'm happy.
You're known more as a family man than a rock star in terms of
Sure,
your offstage
yes.
antics, and maybe don't get in as much trouble as the average DJ.
Yes.
I think that's something to be proud of. Right. And Steve, you are a serial entrepreneur. You've had a ton of success in a lot of different areas. One recent exit to Skype not that long ago. What in the hell made you look at the music industry and the state that it's in today and go like, yeah, I want a part of that?
Well, I mean, music has always been my motivator. Believe it or not, GroupMe was made to go to concerts with our friends. Literally made in 24 hours at a hackathon so that we could go to a concert. And you know, it turns out it was useful for so many more things than that. And so when I was thinking about what to do next, I wanted something that was really going to motivate me. And music is that motivator for me. So I like to apply the art that I know, which is building software companies, to the art that I love, which is music, and help these guys, you know, make great things in the world.
Yeah, and speaking of technology helping artists, Ryan, you've been doing this for a long time. You started mixing sounds back in your dorm room back in the day. Can you tell us a little bit about how the tools of music creation have evolved over the course of the time that you've been doing this, and how that sort of enables artists like yourself to explore their creativity deeper?
Yeah, all the tools have changed. I mean, social media, from how I connect with my fans to how I'm actually writing and producing music. I mean, when I first started, it was, you know, the digital audio workstation was extremely expensive and out of reach for most people. But I mean, everything was, even if it was digital, it was still in an analog world. You know, you had synths and drum machines and, you know, racks and racks of gear, compression, EQs, whatever. Now this is all inside the box. You open up a laptop and the power of the computer and the software that's been developed, it's all right there for anyone to use. And I think that's why we're seeing so much innovation right now. There's so many young kids coming up and they're just writing and developing new sounds, you know, whatever, the computer at the kitchen, you know, the table that the family computer. I had a 13-year-old kid play me a new song last night at a restaurant. He came up, big fan. He's like, check what I made. And, you know, it's on his phone. He's playing it for me. So I think that's the biggest innovation, that the entry levels become so low that anyone can make music. That's exciting.
Absolutely, and so Steve, that's sort of where you come in here in that continuing democratization of music. Can you tell us a little bit about Splice and how that gives every artist more access to sounds and to an audience?
Yeah, so you know, I come from this software culture that's very big on open source and sharing and collaboration, and that was the kind of culture we wanted to bring to music. And you know, music is a little harder. It's harder to be open, especially, you know, up till now, you're holding your sound library, holding your secrets and all these things. It was very closed in the sense that, like, this is what gave you the competitive advantage in the space, because there's not a lot of seats at the table in music. So, you know, people for a long time thought that that's the way they need to kind of to do things. And then the stuff that was out there, you know, wasn't priced in a way that made it really accessible for kind of newer people in the space, and there wasn't enough forward thinking in the technology to make it really like easy to use either.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got this world of like bad broken business models and bad user experiences that lead to a lot of piracy. And I would think that most people get their musician tools as pirated software in the beginning. And so we kind of came in to change that. And so we've got a whole platform. We try to be the hub for the modern musician, giving them the tools, the business models, and a network to help them make their craft.
Well, as the modern musician, Ryan, you were actually telling us a little bit backstage about how one of the first paychecks you got was actually through them, through his company.
A very similar idea. I think what Splice has done is really changed the creative process. I think there's, there's terabytes, gigabytes, it's just like thousands, millions, billions of sounds out there, and these guys have been able to catalog them and make a searchable database, and it makes my job, if I'm like, oh, cool, I need a tambourine, instead of like scrolling through tambourine samples on my hard drive, I can just pull it up here and pull it down really quickly. So I think it's just super innovative, and I've been a huge user, and part of the reason I agreed to be here is because I use their products so much.
I didn't know that until today, by the way, and I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, no better compliment.
It's one of those things, giving these guys the tools to bring the art and the music and the love to so many people faster, easier, better, all those things. That's a dream come true for me.
Yeah, and you guys are both very much proponents of sort of open source music, basically giving people the tools and letting them create what they will with it. But that sort of leaves out some of the traditional gatekeepers, and with the evolution of music technology, those gatekeepers are becoming less and less significant, and they're really fighting for their piece of the pie these days. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the tension that exists between the traditional music industry and what you're trying to create and what you guys are doing?
Oh, you can go first.
I mean, I think for us, gatekeepers is what always scared me about music. It's the scariest part, and why I could only get involved in something that we didn't need to ask permission for anything that we were really doing. But like giving people this royalty-free way of using each other's music. I mean, we got into a conversation on the internet about what is free in music, and there's this difference we talked about free as in beer, free as in speech. If I give you a free beer, there's no strings attached to your beer, but free as in speech, there's strings attached, things you need to know about speech. And the same thing in music is what, there's so many people out there trying to track different kinds of rights and who did what and all that stuff, but at its core, what we want to start with is these royalty-free, clean abstractions, right? Like, you made this to give to the world, let them go do their thing with it. And that's the foundation. I think there's more ways we can explore that, but we're creating more opportunities for people to monetize what they're good at. Whether they're good at making snare drums, whether they're good at recording vocals, whether they're good at these things, and then giving the composers, the songwriters, the creators, the best tools available so that they can do what they're best at. And that way, if we can properly give everybody credit along the way and help them monetize their stuff, I think we create a better ecosystem without the need for as many of the gatekeepers.
Anything to add, Ryan?
No, I think you nailed it. I think we have a rough, kind of rocky road ahead of us as far as copyright and what that means. I mean, I've been an advocate to and change that, because it doesn't make sense in today's digital world.
Well, when you say a rocky road, what are some of the barriers that still exist that you're still fighting to push through?
I mean, look, if I hear the new Lana Del Rey single and I love it, and I'm just like a hobbyist user, and I want to go out there and I want to remix that single, so I take the 2-track and I mix it around, I download some sounds from Splice, munge it up, make something really cool, I'm happy with it, I go and I post it to whatever. My favorite platform is SoundCloud. Let's say the kid wants to use SoundCloud to post it. The thing's going to be taken down within 5 minutes. Even if he posts it as a secret link and he's sending it to his mom to listen, it will be taken down. And that's just not, I don't think anyone is, no good's coming from that. This person's just trying to share something new, get it out into the world, even if his imprint is to 10 people. That's still fun, and I'm sure Lana Del Rey personally doesn't have a problem with that, but where we are right now, everybody's trying to protect their data and their information, and the walls are a little too high, and we're trying to figure out exactly the right way to move forward. And I think it's just a really interesting time, and it's an old law for a new time, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Actually, you wrote a little bit about this a few years ago on Tumblr, and there was one line in there that I think was just as a writer, I was very jealous of this. You wrote, "These laws and page takedowns are cutting us down at the knees, and musicians definitely need knees." So can you talk a little bit more about trying to give away music for free and how that ultimately props up the industry rather than bringing it down? And we'll start with you again, Ryan. But
well, I like to use, I want to use this YouTube as an example. All right, YouTube, 5 years ago, I love Star Wars, and I would be like, I want to upload a couple little clips of, I want to edit Star Wars into my vacation movie with my kids. Woo, there's Chewbacca, he's like in there, I want to edit him in, and I put it up there, and then I get this note, copyright infringement. I'm like, oh man, I just sent this to grandma and grandpa, nobody can watch a video because I had those little samples of the movie in there. And what's happened over the last few years is all these people who own the rights to this visual media have kind of wised up. They're like, oh, let's not pull this down. Ryan's a huge fan. We shouldn't pull it down. We should let him have his thing up there. We'll slap an advertisement on his video that clips up right at the beginning and people can see it or click it and make it go away. And we'll collect some of the money from this. And I'm completely cool with that. That works, because all I'm trying to do is share this home video with friends and family. And I think they've got it a lot more figured out than we do right now. Because right now with music, you put anything up and it just, oh, that snare drum, that was used, Moby used that in 1992, so we got to take that down. Okay. I don't know, we're just hung up on the small things when we're all just trying to share music.
Absolutely. And Steve, with that in mind, there's a few artists who have just been able to build careers for themselves without the traditional gatekeepers using Splice. Were you sort of surprised to see how many new acts were able to build a career for themselves just using your platform?
Yeah, I think what's cool is that sounds are becoming like a piece of the arsenal, not just finished tracks. So, we have a couple guys like Crane who is great at making snare drums and gets to quit his full-time job and become a full-time music creator and is doing bigger collaborations with people now. Gray, that duo, also doing incredible things, and they recently did an interview with us talking about doing working at Olive Garden and then making money and changing things with what we're doing. And what's big for us is some people work so long to get to the point where they can get ready to sign a publishing deal or a label deal, and they give it all away because it's the only way to get their first check,
right,
and make their money. And if we can help people start building their career up even before they get there, and give them a little more leverage as they go into that and more revenue, we love it. I mean, we say every time we create a new seat at the table, for an artist, we're doing the right work. So, I think also traditionally samples have been given out not till really late in people's careers, after they were kind of done and they were okay getting their secrets out. But now it's becoming a staple of especially in the more Instagram, social media driven, how you break music. This is a chance to show no, I'm a producer, or I'm a sound designer, and I'm going to share that with other artists. And you're building lots of credibility with it. So we're really happy about exposing that part of the process.
Absolutely, and Ryan is actually one of those artists who's not waiting to the very end of his career to start dishing out pieces of his samples for free. Why did you decide to do that?
I'm all about it.
Yeah?
Share the secrets.
Well, what are you hoping becomes of those stems that you're putting out there for free?
I think just helping young up-and-coming producers, here's a look under the hood, lift it up, this is how I make a song. That's exciting. Nobody was really doing that for me when I was coming up. I was buying Future Music and Computer Music was a magazine. It cost $20 and came with a CD-ROM. These are that's how I was learning my tricks, pre-internet. But it's cool to just share and see what comes of that. I think it adds to more creativity. And I enjoy seeing all these different renditions of the songs, that I made come out. It doesn't bother me, Some I don't like, some I love, some I hate, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think it's good that people are just out there creating and making music. Yeah.
So why don't more of the industry sort of echo that sentiment? Because you hear someone remix your song and you think, man, that sounds great, and you applaud, and you have publicly applauded that person, whereas others are seeking to take them down, to take them out, to take them to court.
I think because the traditional way the labels made money or the copyright owners made money was by controlling that copyright, and they're still kind of in an old mindset. I mean, listen, I put Instagram videos up that I put other musicians' music that I love synced to my video, and it gets taken down. And I'm like, this is so crazy that we don't live in a time that this just automatically, if there's any revenue being made from that, I'm not trying to make revenue, I'm just trying to share an Instagram video. Why should that be taken down? Whatever is happening there should be able to automatically just funnel to that artist if there's revenue being made, which there isn't, but I'm sure that person would enjoy that I'm sharing this, or make it a button that it's clickable that they can go and buy that or something. It's like no one can agree on where the revenue split should be and how it should funnel out. So the people owning the copyright right now, I feel like they're being too stringent and they're just thinking in a very old standard way. We own that, take it down. We are the only gatekeepers of who's going to put that out and when we're going to put out and how it's going to be put out. And that's just not today's world. I mean, people are out there making stuff all the time.
Right, and it seems like there's always sort of been a tension in the industry between the creators of new music and the owners of old music, and that just has continued for a long period of time. It's not necessarily just unique to the current generation of artists, but that's something that other artists have been asking others for copyright infringement because of they feel like they've been ripped off for throughout history. How do we get over that? How do we share this spirit of open source music that you guys clearly share, but a lot of the industry is lagging behind? Is this a generational thing that maybe in the next generation do you think that'll turn over?
I mean, I think that what we're trying to do now is kind of seed this world with this royalty-free content, with this open content, and start watching the transformation occur. Like, we're putting the stake in the ground now, beginning the movement and letting it grow. And until, I think that the long-term ability to kind of disrupt that space comes from really starting to say, no, we're doing this, we're doing it this way, and it's working for a lot of people. And then as it grows and grows more, you want to be on the platform or part of the open ecosystem, because people are watching their careers blow up because they're giving back. Why not set the trend of the genre by having your stuff be out there and what's played, your sound kind of be, and then you're the flagship of the genre. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll change it over time. And I think we're playing a long game to try to do that from the artist side, empowering the artists to do it, not even worrying about the kind of, don't even get the rights holders involved.
So where do the fans come into this equation? Because a lot of the time the industry only moves when there's demand from the audience. How do you convert the fans into taking up this cause, and how can they show their support if they want to see more open source music?
I mean, I think they have spoken up. SoundCloud was tremendously successful until it went into more of a subscription format, until their hand was forced to regulate the content. It was such a beautiful interface, and is such a beautiful interface, and then the copyright holders are the people that came up and really mucked it up for them. I think they were such a powerhouse in the industry because it was an easy way to share music and sounds. And too many people were against that. But dude, the people voted. They had millions and millions of people using that platform because it worked well. And I think, listen, if that guy who remixes my song wants to share it, he's going to figure out one way or another to share it, regardless if it's monetized or not. So I think the people that own the copyright need to relax a little bit and work with this next generation of producers and creators to do it the right way. Because I don't think these kids are trying to steal, and they're not trying to do anything bad. They're just trying to, get their art out there and get heard.
Yeah, I'd say fans, keep enjoying music, right? Do your job, enjoy the music, have a great time, follow the artists you love. And then, if you want to get involved in making music, if you want to give it a shot, if you want to go in, now we make these things super accessible so that you can support the artists and get their sounds and kind of feel what it's like to try to make something with your favorite artists. But there's ways to get involved, but man, fans, I'd say enjoy. We're doing this out of love. I'm doing this so that I can power these guys to make you move, make you dance and feel good. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'd say if you're in the music world, just enjoy it. And then when you're remixing, when you're doing the art, do it through a platform that's giving them the exposure and helping them make money.
Fantastic. And since this talk is supposed to be about what the future will sound like, I'm going to take it a little bit more literally. We're here in New Orleans, and here you can hear sounds from every different generation, from every different era, walking the different streets, and each one sort of has its distinct instrument, its distinct sound. Whether it's the electric guitar of the 60s and 70s, the drum machines of the 80s. What would you say is sort of the distinctive sound that this generation is going to be remembered for, and what do you think will be the next quintessential sound that people will hear and automatically think of that generation? I'm going to let the artist start with this one.
You go first. I'll show you.
I don't know, I'll share a theory with you, because I don't know exactly what that sound's going to be. I think this generation is known for electronic music. That's what's happening right now. That is the sound of now. And that dictated this massive explosion in popularity of the genre over the last 5-7 years. What's the next step? I'm not totally sure, but I think what's awesome now is we finally have these platforms that are Spotify and Amazon and iTunes that are, you can see democracy's ruling. Before we were force-fed music on the radio, and some guy in a really tall building in New York was dictating what I was going to listen to. Now you get on and you vote yourself. You pick and you find music that you love, and I think that's kind of actually dictating the sound, because so many producers are looking what's popular on these platforms, and they're trying to make a living, so they're creating stuff that looks similar to that. But ultimately, as more and more platforms come around, Spotify is the strongest one right now, but I believe there's a lot of competition in the wings, and as more of this kind of comes up, I think it's going to be a really great time. I think instead of having these massive global stars, we're going to have a lot of people that are kind of mid-range that are recognized for what they're creating. And we won't have the 2 or 3 people at the top. I mean, we'll still have that to some degree, but I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that make a living making music that wasn't possible for a while. It was really hard.
So the future is going to sound more democratized.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. I like that.
There you go.
The journalist.
Thank you very much. And Steve, yeah.
So I think about this a lot, because you hear that music is being discovered, sounds are being discovered every day and making their way into these huge tracks that are happening. I'm going to try, they said this won't work backstage, so I'll give it a try, but this little snare drum, if you can hear it, is like the most downloaded snare drum of 2016. That was last year's drum. Crane made these bamboo snares that were just so popular, and then Deadmau5 is using one in his track, and everyone recognizes it as Crane's snare drum, and then he gets his career moves up. And so what's cool is the sounds of tomorrow kind of we're trying to get them on Splice so that we can get them out to the world, and they can come from anywhere. They can come from random instrument recordings over here. It's you need a flute in D, 140 BPM, we'll find it for you. And let those sounds come democratized from anywhere and surface them way into great compositions.
Democratized and then upvoted.
And then upvoted, sure.
And that's where the future will come from,
sure.
The future of the sound. And can you maybe describe a little bit about how that changed from when you first started out a few decades ago, when you were trying to find the right sound for the right song, what that process would have been like compared to how easy it is today on Steve's platform?
Yeah, as you can imagine, I was just a lot more limited. I had a couple synths, a few drum machines, a sampler, and literally I had crates and crates of records. That's still the same. But I would just kind of search and dig and look around. I think it was a lot longer of a process to kind of find something. And there was a lot of moments when it was this piece kind of works. I'll force it in the square peg into the round hole. I'll make it happen. Whereas there's really no boundaries now, just because there are so many sounds available and accessible and searchable. So it just really kind of changed the creative process. When before, I think producers were thinking much more like a remixer. This is what I have in front of me. I've got my SP3000, and that's what I'm going to make my song on. And I have these sounds that were loaded into it, and I can figure out a cool way to make something. Now it's you have a laptop and an internet connection. There's thousands of songs waiting for you. So sounds.
Fantastic. Anything last minute to add before we wrap up here?
This makes me happy. You know, like, honestly, like, this is what we're trying to do.
Well, it's interesting to hear you guys talking backstage because it sounds like you're both a fan of each other's work, which is always an interesting dynamic. So thank you both for coming out and talking to us today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here.